Good evening, seekers of cosmic wisdom. Gather together for one of the most beloved stories ever told. A timeless tale of self-discovery, courage, and the bonds of friendship. A reminder that the courage we seek lies within, that unity and kindness give us strength, and, most importantly, that true power and happiness are not found in far-off places, but nearby. After all, wherever you are always home. Once upon a time, in the heart of the vast Kansas prairies, there lived a little girl named Dorothy. She shared a quiet life with her Aunt Em, Uncle Henry, and her faithful dog, Toto. Dorothy was known for her kind nature and friendly smile. But she was also a little shy and short on confidence. That resulted in a restlessness that she couldn't quite explain, a longing that tugged at her heart. It was as if she were endlessly searching for answers about herself and a world that always seemed just out of reach. She longed for a place where she could truly be understood, where the grass was greener and every turn held the promise of adventure. One day, as Dorothy and Toto played outside, a haunting murmur rippled through the air. Trees began to groan, while the tall grass shivered in dread. In the distance, a towering column of wind twisted violently, churning the earth beneath it and devouring everything in its path.
There's a cyclone coming!
Shouted Uncle Henry.
Quick, Dorothy! Run for the cellar!
Instructed Aunt Em. Too late. The winds seized Dorothy and her farmhouse, soaring into the sky, spinning wildly higher and higher, until the land below was a blur. When she awoke, she was surprised to find her house had landed in a beautiful, colorful world. Unlike anything she had ever seen. Stepping outside, Dorothy was greeted by a group of tiny, joyful people. The Munchkins. They thanked her for freeing them from the curse of the Wicked Witch of the East. Because, as it turned out, Dorothy's house had landed on the witch and squashed her. kindly woman in a white, glowing robe appeared. This was the Good Witch of the North, who explained to Dorothy that she and the Munchkins were now set free because the Wicked Witch was dead. "But I have never killed anything in my life," exclaimed Dorothy. "No, but your house did, my dear," the Good Witch replied with a gentle smile. Gesturing toward the 2 feet sticking out from beneath the farmhouse porch, encased in the most beautiful rainbow-colored shoes. She told Dorothy that to find her way home, she would need to visit the Wizard of Oz in the Emerald City. To help her on her way, she gifted Dorothy the rainbow-colored shoes of the Wicked Witch of the East, which were said to possess magic abilities. "Just follow the yellow brick road. It will lead you to Oz. And there, the wizard will help you home." With more than a little trepidation, Dorothy set off as the Munchkins called out,
"Good luck.
and
We love you."
as she did so, little knowing, the yellow brick road was more than a path to Oz and some distant wizard. It symbolized life's journey, with its twists, turns, and unexpected lessons, leading her to the answers she'd been seeking all along. With her loyal dog Toto by her side, Dorothy began her journey along the yellow brick road. And to her delight, the newly gifted rainbow shoes fit her perfectly, giving her an instant spring in her step, which Toto had to run to keep up with. The road stretched long and winding. Threading through fields of vibrant flowers. Sparkling streams. And groves of blossoming trees.
Boxes are full a lot. What a difference on the screen.
In the distance, the towering mountains of Oz, a vision of blinding green. As Dorothy walked along, she stumbled across a scarecrow, slumped awkwardly on a pole in the middle of a cornfield. The scarecrow's face was crudely painted, with misaligned eyes and a wonky hat. He wore a patchwork coat and trousers so oversized they seemed meant for a giant, with stray bits of straw poking out from every seam. But what surprised Dorothy most was when the scarecrow winked at her. Amused, she approached him cautiously, and then, even more surprisingly, he spoke, asking if she would kindly help him down from his pole. Dorothy obliged, and the Scarecrow thanked her. He then explained that he longed for a brain to think properly and to know things like real people do.
But my head's so full of straw, and the only friends I have are the birds. Though I don't think friends usually poop on you like they do.
Dorothy invited the Scarecrow to join her on her journey, suggesting that the Wizard of Oz might grant his wish for a brain, as well as her wish to go home. Delighted, the Scarecrow agreed, and together they continued down the road, arm in arm. They occasionally had to stop to help the wobbly Scarecrow back to his feet, as he was determined to walk alongside Dorothy and Toto, even though it was quite difficult with legs made of straw. As Dorothy watched the Scarecrow's perseverance, she realized that, like him, she had been doubting her own abilities. Abilities hidden beneath her perceived shortcomings. Rather thrillingly, with each step toward the mysterious wizard and the Emerald City, Dorothy's self-belief grew, along with her excitement for what lay ahead. Dorothy and the Scarecrow soon found themselves in a dense forest of towering trees. The air was damp and heavy with the scent of danger, and shadows clung to every corner, causing Toto to bark in defiance. Slivers of light pierced through the leaves of the branches, dappling the forest floor in a kaleidoscope of greens and browns. "This is far from Kansas," Dorothy whispered, hugging the Scarecrow. Edging forward, they stepped over thick vines snaked around tree trunks and stumbled over gnarled roots. It was eerily quiet, except for the occasional rustle of unseen creatures. In the stillness, a faint groan echoed from a figure crafted entirely of tin. It was the Tin Woodman, frozen mid-motion, an axe gripped tightly in his hands.
All my joints. They are so badly rusted I cannot move.
Demanded the Tin Woodman. Dorothy and the Scarecrow doused him in oil, which he responded to like a thirsty plant. A twitch here and a creak there brought him back to life until his head spun round, coming to a stop with a backwards grin. The Tin Woodman explained that a wicked enchantment turned his body into tin.
A kind metalsmith replaced each of my parts except my heart. And now I seek a new one, so I can love again.
Together, they agreed to ask the Wizard of Oz for a heart, too. And with that, they continued through the forest, which grew darker and more menacing. Suddenly, a great roar shattered the silence. And a huge lion bounded onto the yellow brick road, knocking over the scarecrow and scaring Toto. Dorothy, in a moment of bravery, slapped the lion on the nose. The lion, surprised and ashamed, confessed he was a coward, despite his appearance, and began to sob like a baby.
Oh, everyone thinks I'm fierce because I'm a lion, but I've always been scared of everything.
At that moment, Dorothy saw her own fears in the lion. Realizing that courage isn't the absence of fear, but acting despite it, just as she had when she slapped him on the nose. Moved by his honesty, she invited the lion to join their group, believing the wizard could give him the courage he longed for.
Oh, you think he could? Though that would be wonderful,
said the lion. Together, the four friends continued their journey. After many days of overcoming countless challenges, Dorothy, Toto, the Scarecrow, the Tin Woodman, and the Lion finally reached the Emerald City. It shimmered before them, radiant and gleaming, like emeralds bathed in sunlight. The guardian of the gates greeted them and handed them each a pair of green spectacles, explaining that the city's dazzling brilliance could blind them without protection. Once inside, they were escorted through the grand palace to the wizard's chamber.
the Wizard of Oz, the great and terrible. Who are you? And why do you seek me?
As they spoke, one by one, the wizard appeared in a different form, depending on who he was talking to. Each form had a personal meaning that connected to who they were, what they wanted, and what they were afraid of. When talking to Dorothy, the wizard appeared as a giant floating head, symbolizing authority and wisdom, to guide her and help her find her way home. To the Scarecrow, he appeared as a kindly lady, symbolizing the nurturing nature and intelligence that the Scarecrow longed to be recognized for. To the Tin Woodman, he appeared as a roaring ball of fire, symbolizing the passion and emotion the Tin Woodman believed he lacked due to not having a heart. And finally to the Lion. The wizard took the form of a great beast, representing the strength the lion believed he was missing. The wizard listened closely to their requests. A way home for Dorothy, a brain for the Scarecrow, a heart for the Tin Woodman, and courage for the Lion. With a deep contemplative sigh, he agreed to grant their wishes, but with one daunting condition.
You must first bring me the broomstick of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Though fear gripped them, the group accepted, understanding that retrieving the broomstick from the Wicked Witch of the West was the only way to see their dreams realized. Together, they set off on their dangerous mission, knowing they would have to face the witch's wrath to claim her broomstick and secure their deepest desires. The Wicked Witch of the West spotted them approaching. And immediately unleashed a pack of wolves to tear them apart. The lion, trembling with fear, instinctively let out a startled roar. To his surprise, the force of the sound froze the wolves in their tracks, their menacing advance halted by the unexpected power in his voice. Undeterred, the Wicked Witch summoned a flock of crows.
Peck out their eyes!
She ordered. But the Scarecrow, ever a friend to birds, sprang into action, talking to the crows and coaxing them to the ground, saving his companions. Suddenly, a swarm of bees descended.
Sting! Sting! Sting!
Screeched the Wicked Witch. Dorothy, Toto, and the Scarecrow threw themselves to the ground, covering their bodies with straw. But with a warm, determined smile, the Tin Woodman sprang into action. He stood protectively over them, arms spread wide, allowing his metal body to absorb the stings without harm. Growing desperate, the Wicked Witch called upon her most fearsome servants, the winged monkeys.
Seize them, my monkeys, and bring them to me!
Swooping down from the sky, the winged monkeys overwhelmed the group with their strength. They tore the Scarecrow apart, scattering his straw to the winds. Threw the Tin Woodman onto a pile of jagged rocks, and captured the lion, locking him in a cage. The Wicked Witch of the West was as cunning as she was cruel. When she saw the rainbow shoes Dorothy wore and recognized their hidden power, she lunged to snatch them from her feet. But Toto, fiercely defending his Dorothy, bit her hand. In the chaos, Dorothy grabbed a bucket of water and hurled it at the witch. To everyone's astonishment, she began to melt. Within minutes, all that remained was a puddle on the floor, with the witch's hat floating on top. With the Wicked Witch's demise, the crows, bees, and monkeys were freed from her cruel spell. Grateful, the liberated creatures presented Dorothy with the broomstick she sought. Victorious but weary from their trials, Dorothy and her friends made their way back to the Emerald City. Back in the Emerald City, Dorothy presented the broomstick to the wizard. But a surprising discovery awaited them. The wizard was not a mighty sorcerer, but an ordinary man with no magical powers at all. Dorothy laughed, a deep, heartfelt laugh that seemed to release something inside her. "What's so funny?" the wizard asked, curious. "I suppose," Dorothy began thoughtfully, "I always believed that you, Aunt Em, Uncle Henry, grown-ups in general, had everything figured out. Like you held all the answers. But now I see that adults don't hold any more power than I do. The answers we seek and the strength we need comes from within." The wizard smiled gently, nodding in quiet understanding. "I guess you're right," he said, chuckling. Despite being an ordinary man, the wizard managed to fulfill their wishes in creative ways. He gave the Scarecrow a diploma, symbolizing knowledge. The Tin Woodman received a heart-shaped watch to symbolize his capacity for love. And the lion was given a medal to represent his newfound courage. Dorothy's wish was the most heartbreaking of all. The wizard had tried to carry her back to Kansas in a hot air balloon. But just as they were about to leave, Toto leapt from her arms, and without thinking, Dorothy followed, disappearing into the clouds, just beyond her grasp once again. In that fleeting moment, her chance slipped away. The last fragile hope of returning home was fading before her eyes. As the balloon rose higher, Dorothy stood frozen as she watched it drift farther into the sky. Just then, the Good Witch of the South appeared. She explained that Dorothy had always had the power to return home. By clicking her rainbow-colored heels together 3 times and wishing to go back to Kansas. Dorothy hugged her friends goodbye, clicked her heels, and with Toto in her arms, she whispered, "You are always home. You are always home." In an instant, Dorothy was back in Kansas. In front of her farmhouse stood Aunt Em and Uncle Henry, their arms outstretched. Overcome with pure joy, Dorothy ran into their embrace. The adventure in the Land of Oz felt like a dream. But as she hugged Toto, Dorothy knew she had learned a great deal about courage, heart, and belonging. And so, with a smile on her face, Dorothy whispered again, "After all, wherever you are,